And so this actually came up with the SPG Sheraton hotel that we stayed at in Brussels. And so I wanted to just run you through the calculation. This is sort of the first thing that I do when I'm looking at a hotel and I know there's a possibility I'm going to want to use points. Hey everybody, welcome to the Abroaders Travel Podcast, your weekly meetup with thousands of entrepreneurs, hustlers, creators, nomads, ninjas, wanderers, and world changers, all seeking to build the skills and connections to live a life without borders. If you want to learn more about what we do or download our entire podcast archive, check out the website, abroaders.com. Happy Wednesday morning and welcome to another episode of the Abroaders Podcast. I'm Erik in Bangkok, Thailand, here for the annual Dynamite Circle Conference. And today I'm going to share a few tips and a roundup of resources mostly related to hotels. This is going to be a slightly shorter show today as I'm running around like crazy getting ready for this conference. But I came across some really useful and helpful hotel links lately. I've been doing some searching for stays here in Asia. Also did a couple of hotel stays in Europe when I was there the last couple of weeks. And so I wanted to share some of the things that I learned about the process and some of the benefits that are out there. Some of these are attached to cards. Other times they're just a matter of knowing which websites to use, where to look, and understanding sort of a hierarchy of benefits and how you can compare the different offerings from hotels and the perks that are included with elite status and with credit cards and sort of decide what is the best strategy for each hotel stay based on your preferences, based on your travel goals, etc. So I'm going to share some links for that. At the top of the show, I actually did manage to check in with AJ during his last night in Barcelona. So we're going to roll a little bit of talk just about travel plans from that, and then I will jump back in and cover some of these tips and updates for hotels. All right, so I've got AJ checking in from Barcelona. Last day in Barcelona. Just wanted to get a quick segment and talk over some travel stuff with you before I jump to the rest of the content for the episode. You're flying Etihad tomorrow, headed out to join me in Bangkok. Is that right?
That I am, man. This will be my first Gulf carrier. I've reviewed Etihad's. I'm going to be flying economy class. This is actually a cash ticket, low cost. I will be able to earn some AA miles on this. They're a little bit ambiguous on the website as to it's not the most straightforward thing, but I'm pretty sure I'll be able to earn 1-for-1 miles on this flight, which isn't bad considering it was a super cheap flight. It was under $400, and I'm going to rack up, I think, 7,000 miles on this flight. And I just wanted to experience Etihad and see what it's all about. Heard good things about their economy class. I've reviewed it, so should be a nice flying experience, not a super expensive ticket, and I'll get some points as well, which will actually put me over the threshold for an additional redemption in using my AA miles.
Nice. Well, that's definitely an important consideration. If you don't have enough miles for your next award, what's that award threshold you're looking at to get your points up to in American?
This will actually get me up to, I believe this will break me over 30, which isn't absolutely needed, but that gives me cushion. I mean, pretty much every year I go to South America from the United States, and that will ensure me that even at the higher saver availability, that I'll still be able to get there. You can sometimes get down there for 20, but at times it's 30, so that kind of locks me up and ensures that I'll be able to either get to or from South America with those 30K AA points, and I've also got some other points stashed that I'll be able to hit the other side of that trip with as well. So that essentially assured me getting my flight to Brazil or back to the States from Brazil.
Nice. A couple other questions for you. I'm curious because I found out, I kind of relearned why it's important to check your seats, even when flying economy. We've talked about Seat Guru before, and generally it's only important if you're flying business class. Obviously, the seat has a lot more to do with your comfort. If you're paying extra miles to fly in business class, whether it's lay flat, whether it's the herringbone, what kind of configuration you've got. So I didn't really pay any attention to what kind of aircraft I was on or what the seating configuration was, and I luckily checked at the airport in Doha and found out that I was indeed flying on the A380 from Doha to Bangkok. First time on that aircraft, and incredibly impressive. Have you flown the A380 yet, AJ?
No, I have not, man. I'm excited to, but I've yet to do it.
So Kind of like the old school 747 in the sense that it's 2 stories. Seems so ridiculous even saying that with an airplane. So there's an upstairs section. And the reason that I mentioned this economy seating, checking the chart, is that on Qatar Airways A380, they have the entire lower level is economy. And so it's just like, it's pretty wall to wall. I think it's a 343 or a 353 configuration. So it's like a wide plane, and it feels really crowded. I mean, there's just a lot of people in the cabin downstairs. They have 8 first class seats and maybe 30 to 40 business class seats, and those are all in the upper deck. But they also have a really small, like very private feeling economy cabin on the upper deck, which is behind the bar. And lounge area, which you don't get access to it in economy, but just way more private. And there's also fewer seats because it's at the top of the plane, so sort of the curvature of the aircraft, it's a little bit narrower, and so there's only 2 seats on the windows, and then there's 4 in the middle. And it turned out to be way better. It's just such a nicer experience. I had to walk through the whole economy cabin downstairs to get to the stairwell to get upstairs. So definitely recommended to check which seats you're going to have on long economy flights. And I got to say, man, I was super happy about the routing with Doha because it's like a 5.5-hour flight and then a 6.5-hour flight. And so if you're going to travel, the equivalent of 13 hours or so or 12 hours in economy, it's really nice to break it up right in the middle. What's your routing for the trip tomorrow?
Not ideal. The first leg is not ideal. I'm doing a quick little shot over to Rome. But from Rome, it's not too shabby. I go Rome to Abu Dhabi and then to Bangkok. So that is kind of like your flight is fairly similar flight lengths from Rome to Abu Dhabi and then from Abu Dhabi to Bangkok. And like you, I'm happy I did a little bit of homework on Seat Guru. I'm going to be flying both of my Etihad flights are going to be in the Boeing 777, and so I hopped on Seat Guru, and I actually something I normally don't do. I'm really bad at checking in for my flights early, but I actually made a point to do that so I could pick my seats and pick good seats. And I almost picked my seats without checking Seat Guru, and I almost fell into a trap where I almost actually picked one of the worst economy seats. There's like 2 out of like the 300 or whatever seats on the plane that are like the ones that you don't want. Yes, exactly. And I made sure I avoided that. So I believe I am in row 39 on the window and then in row 16 or 17 on the window. But one thing that's cool about the Etihad's 777 is the in-flight entertainment, the little screen module in front of you. On liftoff, I know other people have probably experienced this. They've got like a camera on the front of the plane.
Oh,
so you actually,
nice.
Yes. And I've yet to experience that. So that's going to be pretty cool to actually kind of see from the almost the cockpit view of what it's like when we're taking off.
Yeah, we got to see that. First of all, incredible takeoff experience in Doha. Just an awesome experience all around as a place to connect. Great airport, really clean, really nice. But the skyline, we took off just after sunset, and so it was just getting dark and just flew like buzzed right by the skyline there. So the flight I was on also had that camera, and unfortunately it was pretty cloudy when we came into Bangkok, so I didn't really get to see very much, but super cool feature. Definitely check it out if your plane has the in-flight entertainment. They often will have that. The other one that's interesting that they sometimes offer, I know United offers this sometimes, is the ability to listen in on communications between the air traffic control and the cockpit. Now, this is definitely something that the pilot has to turn on. They get to choose, but the flights, there are some flights out there that are equipped with that. I wish I had more information. If any of you listeners actually know what the deal is with that, I'd love to hear. But I know that sometimes you can tune into the air traffic control channel and hear what's going on, which I think would be super interesting.
Yeah, that's really cool. Shit, I can only imagine a pilot accidentally having that on as they have to call in a mayday because they've got something funky going on, running low on fuel, asking for priority clearance.
I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that goes on that nobody that's on the flight ever finds out about. I'm sure there's a lot of weird scares that happen that never get to the point where the flight gets diverted.
Oh man, speaking of weird stuff, there was a Delta flight from Tel Aviv recently that as they're taking off, one of the wheels came off, and then they or like a tire came off, and then they also had like a brake part, like, I don't know, fall off or break. or something, but they landed safely. So the one thing to keep in mind though is flying is so safe, and the engineering behind these planes is remarkable, and they've definitely got backup plans, and the pilots are so well trained. As long as you're not flying some bush league third world discount carrier that forged papers to get their pilot his license. If you're flying like a major carrier, the amount of training these pilots go through, they're cool, they're calm, they're trained to handle that type of stuff.
Right on. And by the way, one other tip, I know you're totally banged by this as well. This is not gonna work out well for you when you get in on Wednesday, but Bangkok is one of the few cities that you do not want to come in the morning. I was in a cab for 2 hours coming back from the airport to get downtown. It was so miserable, man. So I think you're probably going to be into that too. But we got to remind each other, man. But I mean, there's so many cities that it's easy to get downtown. You take public transit or whatever, it doesn't make a difference. But oh man, if I could come in at 2 a.m. in Bangkok, that would be so absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, I've actually flown out of Bangkok late at night, and that was great, man. Saigon too. Get to the airport like nothing. But fuck yeah, I forgot about that. I got in last year in the morning time, and it was shit. It was just a log jam. Even when you pay the extra $1 to go on the fancy road, the overpass. Yeah. What was the cab fare?
I ended up paying roughly $500 for my having a.
Oh, that's not bad. That's like $13.
Yeah, roughly. Not too shabby.
Not an expensive hour cab ride. Not fun, but not not completely.
Hey, there's AC. That would be my one advice. Check quality of vehicle. Make sure there's AC.
Yeah, worth waiting 10 minutes for the cab with AC to fucking spend an hour and 10 minutes in 95 and humid smog bullshit.
Yeah.
All right, so I am back, and I wanted to also add a link for show notes because we're definitely going to have some very useful resources in the show notes today. Can't believe this one's not taken, but we're going to use abroaders.com/hotels. Okay, so before we jump into the hotel resources, I do have one tip and sort of a mistake that I made that is probably going to cost me quite a bit, and so I wanted to share this resource for getting access to your cash when you're abroad with no fees. I know we've definitely talked about this before, but as you may know, when you travel, especially in places like Asia and Latin America, a lot of places don't accept credit cards, and so there are some times that you're just not going to be able to use your favorite points earning card, and so it is critical to be able to get cash out of your checking account without paying a ton of fees. And the thing is, when you withdraw cash at an ATM, there's typically 3 possible fees. One of them is sort of a percentage fee on the amount that you're withdrawing. The second one is a fee from the person that owns the ATM, so whatever bank or company owns the ATM that you're using. And then the third one is possibly a fixed flat rate fee from your bank for the privilege of getting your money abroad. And so the reason I wanted to share those is that Schwab investor checking accounts don't have any of those fees. So number one, they don't have any of their own fees, neither a percentage for foreign transaction fees, nor a flat rate fee for withdrawing. And the best thing is, if the ATM that you're using charges a fee, which obviously your bank has no control over, Schwab will rebate that fee back to you at the end of the month. So on the first of the month, you're going to get a rebate for all of those ATM fees that you incurred in the previous month. And there's no monthly fee. There's free bill pay and regular transfers. So there's a lot of the benefits that you'd expect from a big bank, but none of those nasty fees. And the other thing that I find super useful is that they also have mobile deposit. So if you need to move money around a little bit, you can either do ACH transfers to other accounts, or you can also deposit checks with your smartphone. So super useful checking account. And the Schwab bank card, as I said, doesn't have any of those fees. So it's really useful. You're going to get the best exchange rate as well. They use the interbank exchange rate that is determined by millions of dollars worth of transactions that go through Visa and MasterCard. So you're not going to be getting that inflated sort of above the market exchange rate that you would get with some of the exchange counters or traveler's checks or other ways to get access to money in local currency. So I bring this up because I made the big mistake of taking my Schwab ATM card out of my wallet. Obviously don't want to lose it and didn't think I was going to need cash, but didn't realize that I hadn't put the card back in my wallet and went out later on and had almost no money. So I pretty much took a one-way tuk-tuk ride to the other side of Bangkok and had no cash and no ATM card. So I ended up having to use one of my credit cards to take a cash advance out of the ATM, which is definitely a big no-no. And when I called to find out the damage, it turned out that my ATM cash advance fee was going to be a minimum of $15 or 5% of the amount withdrawn. And so since I only took out about $30, there was a $15 fee on top of that. And there's also an interest rate of about 19% that's going to run for an entire statement cycle. So even though I'm going to pay that off right away, the interest is still going to accumulate. Now, fortunately, it's on a really low balance, so it's just the amount that you withdraw at the ATM, but that's definitely a big no-no. And so I would definitely suggest, one, get this Schwab investor checking account so you've got access to ATM fee rebates, and it's a really good idea to also have a backup ATM card. So you want to have a debit card for any other bank. This one, it doesn't really matter too much what the fees are. Ideally, lower fees are better, but have another card so that in the event that your primary ATM card gets stolen, you're not going to be doing cash advances on credit cards for the rest of your trip or until somebody can mail you an emergency replacement. All right, so enough on that. Let's jump into the hotel resources section. I wanted to cover a couple of things that are sort of similar to the analysis that we make when we're talking about using points for travel for flights. And so with hotels, there's still sort of the same savings calculation or cents per point. You want to find out how much you're saving off of the price of the hotel room by redeeming points. And the interesting thing with hotels is that a lot of the major programs allow you to do cash and points redemptions. So in other words, you can get a totally free night by redeeming a certain number of points. And then typically you can get a not quite free night, but a discounted night by redeeming some points and paying some cash out of pocket. And so this actually came up with the SPG Sheraton hotel that we stayed at in Brussels. And so I wanted to just run you through the calculation. This is sort of the first thing that I do when I'm looking at a hotel and I know there's a possibility I'm going to want to use points. So the first thing I do is I look at the cash rate. And for this one, the cash rate was going to be 139 euros or $158 per night. And then the cash and points rate came out to $55 and 3,500 Starwood preferred guest points. And finally, the points only was going to be 7,000 Starwood preferred guest points. So the key thing here, first of all, not all hotel currencies are created equal. So you definitely want to consider the value of Marriott points and Hilton points. Those are going to be worth a lot less than Starwood points because the Starwood points can transfer to airlines. And so, if you take a look at 7,000 points, if I were doing the points only, 3 nights at that hotel for a total savings of, under $500 is going to come out to enough miles that I could get 25,000 airline miles. So you want to keep that in mind with the Starwood in particular, that those are transferable. But to break this down, if you look at points only, you save $158, which spending 7,000 points comes out to 2.2 cents per point. On the cash and point side, you pay a $55 copay, so your total savings comes down to $103, but you're only using 3,500 points. So in that case, your cents per point actually goes up, and you're paying just about 2.94 cents per point. So the key thing in my decision for this one is that those Starwood points are pretty scarce, they're hard to use, and so I was pretty happy saving a little bit of money and getting almost 3 cents per point, but it wasn't really worth saving under 2 cents per point on the last $55. So in other words, to save another $55, spending another 3,500 miles was going to be a pretty bad deal. It's just a significantly lower return. So the bottom line is you definitely want to look at those cash and points redemptions. Those can be a really nice middle ground where you don't have to take that full hit of an expensive night at a hotel, but you also don't have to spend all your points in one hotel stay. The next thing that you want to consider, especially when you're looking at either paying cash or using points, is what kinds of benefits are going to come into play with your booking. And this is especially important if you have elite status. I'm going to cover a couple of elite status things. We don't have time to really get into all the benefits and the differences between the programs, so I want to leave that for another episode. But there's 2 hotel statuses that come complementary with the Amex Platinum card. And so I'm going to use those as sort of examples, and we'll come back to more in-depth coverage of elite benefits on a future show. But the Amex Platinum card offers Starwood Preferred Guest Gold status, and just recently, this is brand new, last week, they announced that they were going to also offer Hilton Gold status. So middle level status for both of those hotel chains just for having the Amex Platinum card. All you have to do is call Amex to activate that. And so the reason this is important is it turns out that you don't get the benefit of breakfast if you do a cash and points booking, even if you otherwise might be entitled to it under your elite status. And so I'm not sure if this is the case across the chain or if that's just what the people in Brussels were telling me, but that's definitely something that you want to check out. So the next thing I wanted to cover here is Amex offers. So we've mentioned this a couple of times, but this is just sort of like one thing you definitely want to check when you're considering a paid price. Check out a couple of the online travel agencies. Look at Orbitz, look at Expedia. Just try and get an idea. Make sure that the price on the hotel's website is roughly the same as the price on the online aggregators. And so that's important too, because you want to book through the hotel site if there's not a big price difference, because you're going to get more benefits. In some cases, you're going to get elite status credit where you wouldn't if you book through Expedia or Orbitz or something like that. The next thing though to check is the Amex offers and see if there are any promotions for booking through Amex Travel. Spend $300, get a $50 statement credit, those sorts of things. The last one, in terms of benefits that come with cards, is some of those premium cards have access to elite hotel packages. The big one here is the City Prestige card gives you your 4th night free at a whole bunch of different hotel chains. So if you book stays of 4 nights in a row often, this is a big time card that you want to get a hold of because it's available at a lot of the luxury brands. So even hotels that are like $400 a night in places like Hong Kong, you can still get a 4th night free, and across the board, even the more budget in mind economy hotels. So this is a really nice benefit, and it also seems to allow for elite credit in most cases. So you want to try and factor that into your analysis of the price of the hotel if you get that 4th night free with the City Prestige. Same thing is actually the case with Starwood Preferred Guests when you do points only bookings. So in this case where I'm at the hotel here in Bangkok, depending on the availability, if you book this hotel, which is a category 2, which means it's either 3,000 or 4,000 points per night for a free night. And in this case, if you book for 4 nights in a row, you can get the 5th night free. And so that's the case with quite a few Starwood properties as well. So you want to look at those free nights benefits as well. One of the other things that you want to consider, and this is available to you regardless of whether you have a credit card that offers, a bunch of additional benefits with the hotel like the Amex Platinum or the City Prestige, you want to look at the hotel's loyalty program's current promotions. And if you haven't already, you should definitely sign up for all the major hotel programs because that is going to be the easiest way to sort of get targeted for promotions that might be worth taking advantage of. And so I wanted to share one that's going on right now with IHG. And so the IHG promotion, and this is not necessarily the same for everyone. So this is a sort of targeted promotion, and IHG offers these promotions based on your account history with them. And it's actually a really nice thing to be a new member. A lot of times they give their more loyal and regular customers slightly more difficult challenges where they kind of want to get you in the door. So if you just signed up for the IHG program, they're probably going to give you a pretty good challenge, and this definitely was the case for me. So I'm here on Sukhumvit 11, and that's in downtown Bangkok. And as I said, I'm staying at the Aloft property, which is the Starwood Preferred Guest program. I'm doing this one on an all points free nights redemption, and so I ended up paying 3,000 Starwood points. But the opportunity cost that I was considering is a Sukhumvit Holiday Inn Express, which is just across the street, and that one is $47 per night. And so the points only booking with that would be IHG points. It's 20,000 points. I only have about 5,000 IHG points anyways, but 20,000 is a lot to save $47. It comes out to 0.24 cents per point. But the current targeted promotion that I have with IHG is that if I make 2 stays with 2 nights each, I get 2 free hotel nights at any IHG property, which includes the Intercontinentals, which are definitely some of the higher end hotels in a lot of markets. So the bottom line here is if I can figure out a way to stay at this Holiday Inn 2 nights I'm going to get a free night at any IHG property in the world. And if I can do that twice, I'm going to get a pair of free nights. And I'm going to be in Hong Kong later on, and so I'm thinking that that's what I'm going to go for. And so the bottom line here is just double check the promotions that are available to you and see if there's any reason that you might have a lot of extra incentive to spend some extra cash. Now, $47 a night, definitely a little more expensive than I'd like to pay, especially here in Bangkok where there's a lot of lower cost hotels. But knowing that I could possibly get a couple nights at a place that's going to be $300 or $400 a night in Hong Kong, that definitely tips the scale in the Holiday Inn's favor. And so before I leave Bangkok, I'm probably going to log at least one stay there. And then I'm going to start searching for another IHG property for a 2-night stay. And this is where I want to bring in a couple of the resources that I use that are super helpful to figure out where to stay, either using cash or where to stay using points. So the first one is from the Wandering Aramean. He was a guest. Seth Miller was a guest on the Abroaders podcast, so definitely encourage you guys to check out that episode. One of the most interesting people, as far as I'm concerned, on the boarding area blogs, and creates some really good content. And this tool basically breaks down the hotels that are available. You search where you want to go and the dates you want to stay, and it is going to bring up all of the hotels that are there, categorized by which type of hotel currency they use. So this search engine has choice privileges: Club Carlson, Hilton, Hyatt, IHG, Marriott, Starwood, and Wyndham Rewards. So it's got pretty much the whole lineup of hotel rewards programs. And what it does is it breaks down the price and tells you, it sorts those hotels by the best cents per point. And so you can just basically quickly look at how much it's going to cost to book with cash, and it's querying these live from the hotel's website or from Google and other places. So you're going to see the live cash rates, you're going to see how much it costs for points, and if cash and points is available, what that breakdown is as well. So that makes it super easy to do the calculations. And in fact, before doing the show, that's exactly how I prepped those numbers that I was looking at for the Starwood hotel that I used earlier. So take a look at this. And the last thing is that if one of the awards, either the points only or the cash and points, is not available, if you register and give your email address, you can set an alert for free that's going to let you know when that particular redemption opens up. So definitely encourage you to use that as sort of the starting point for your research. The other tool that I use all the time is one created by Drew from Travel is Free, and this is a map of all the hotels in each chain's category, and it's set up by the category of the hotel, which basically boils down to the number of points that it's going to cost. And so, for example, if you take Hilton as your example hotel, a category 1 is only going to cost you 5,000 Hilton Honors points, and the cash and points rate is 2,000 plus $30. So those are a pretty awesome deal, a great way to use Hilton if you can find them at a property in the place you want to go. And so what you can do with this map is just sort by, let's say you take categories 1 and 2. Those are going to be 5,000 and 10,000 points respectively. So those are the ultra cheap, really effective ways to use those Hilton Honor points, and you can see really quickly if one of those 1 or 2 category hotels exists in the place that you're going. Same idea with the super high level hotels if you happen to have a free night stay. So for example, when I use that IHG and I get those 2 stays and I get those free night credits, or if you have, for example, the Hyatt card that gives you 2 free weekend nights, what you want to do is use this map and just sort for category 10 for Hilton or category 7 for Hyatt, and you're going to see the top hotels that are available and make it possible to sort of get the most bang for your buck with those free nights. So in the show notes, which again are going to be at abroaders.com/hotels, we're going to share that link to the Wandering Aramean's Hotel Hustle tool, as well as links to the complete maps of all the hotels. We'll also have some assorted links from some of the other stuff that I kind of breezed over earlier in the show. There's definitely quite a bit to be done with the City Prestige card. The Amex Platinum card, Fine Hotels and Resorts, also has some great benefits. Looking forward to doing another episode in the future about the hotel benefits and elite status, do some comparison. But I'd really like to get your guys' questions. So if you have any questions about hotels, about elite status, or the loyalty programs associated, send those along to support@abroaders.com, and we'll review and try and make this hotel episode into a little bit more of a Q&A. So definitely looking forward to that. Thanks so much for being with me. This week's International Jam is by a Panamanian-born American, Alo Hello Blake. The track is I Need Dollars, and I just had to drop this one as some inspiration going to get my hustle on this weekend at the Dynamite Circle Conference in Bangkok. We'll see you guys next week, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard. Wherever you are, travel safe.
Hey brothers, don't be shy. Hop over to the website and join our email list for exclusive travel hacking content. If you like what we're up to, the best way you can support the show is by leaving us a 5-star review on iTunes. Lastly, we would love to hear from you, so send your show feedback to Erik or AJ at abroaders.com. We will see you next week.